G'day YouTube, Warbles on a lot here with part 3 in the making of a Mk-9 SunFoil using a 70-watt panel. And before fitting the mounting feet, first I have to mark and centre punch and drill the ventilation holes into the trailing edge of the frame. You have to drill holes in the trailing frame, or one of the frames, and I think the trailing is the best one to do it. The idea is that solar panels hate getting hot. Solar panels are full of tiny little wires, and when they get hot, a wire's resistance to having a current go through it increases. So the hotter the panel gets in the sunlight, the harder it is to get the wires to carry the current out of the panel. If you don't drill holes in one of those vertical edges around the solar panel, then because there's a flange on the bottom of the vertical part of the frame, in still air, like when the car's parked, on a sunny day, if there's no wind in the car park, underneath there you build up a biscuit of hot air which just cannot escape from a veritable heat trap like that. So part 1, drilling the trailing edge, is going to allow the panel to effectively function as a thermosiphon. Part 1, it'll shade the steel roof of the car. That shady patch of air will be cooler than the surrounding air. Being cooler, it'll have a slightly higher pressure, and thus it will be drawn to replace the heated, expanded, lower pressure air which is puffing itself out that line of holes. So it's good for the point of view of efficiency while stationary with the motor switched off on a hot sunny day, which is what the panel's there for. Secondarily, that same flange that when you stopped is going to hold hot air against the back of your solar panel, when you're on the highway, it's going to hold a sort of a hemispherical burble of compressed air, a standing wave, if you like, just like the one which the airflow fences and flow guides contrive to be present in front of the leading edge, where it does good things because it smooths the airflow over that otherwise that perpendicular front part of the frame. And as it goes back, flowing across a flat plate of glass, the airflow smooths out again. And then when the airflow comes back to the perpendicular trailing edge, it meets this row of holes. And those holes drain the high pressure standing wave on the other side, the upwind side of the frame, injecting multiple horizontal parallel squirts, jets of high pressure, high speed air into the otherwise low pressure zone. And it sort of forms a scalloped pneumatic barometric trailing edge. You can't see it, but it's there, and it smooths the airflow pretty much back to halfway between the rear door hinge line and the abrupt turn of, well, it's probably closer to 45 degrees than it is to 30, but yeah, that's the actual maybe 60 than 45. But anyway, you can see there the dirt line, which kind of rather well illustrates that there is no practical turbulent burble behind here to suck dirt in the air up here to here. You've got air going over there and turbulating right on the trailing edge of the car. Can't do anything much about that. But the use of drill holes to drain the compressed air out from in front of the rear frame of the solar panel, it's effective. It's see-through aerodynamics. That thing only looks like a flat square solar panel. Stationary in the sunlight like it is now, it's a thermosiphon driven cooling air pump for the solar panel. On the highway, it's a stealthily streamlined solar panel, which is, in its own cunningly production engineered fashion, aerodynamically just as efficient as that thing over there, which takes a month to put together. So unless you desperately want to drive around with a faceted aerofoil concealing a solar thermal ramjet wrapped around your solar panel, my suggestion is that you have a Mark 8 like this, or a Mark 9, which I'm just about to start marking and drilling holes in. By the use of patented calipers, fashioned from a time-expired road sign, to accurately determine the distance between the bottom of the frame and the bottom of the glass. Like so. And it turns out that the glass line is pretty much where that top line of engraving is upon the frame. So the idea is to have 1/4 inch holes on 1/2 inch centres and keep all of the holes lined up just on top of the middle engraved line, but clear of the engraved line on the right, because the glass is level with the engraved line on the right. So that there is where the holes are supposed to go. And the solar panel turns out to be 31 7/8 inches long. I think perhaps it's a Chinese metric equivalent of 32 inches. Okay, so what I've done is I've offset the ruler by a 1/16 of an inch. And we hope and pray that Thorn Warbler is happy with that adjustment, because he's the one who noticed that a 1/16 of an inch is not an 1/8 of an inch, and told me so in the comments thread under the the first video in this little How to Done It series. So now it's merely a case of marking on every 1/2 inch without knocking the ruler off or shifting it. So there's a bit of concentration involved, but if I can do it, I'm guessing probably pretty much anybody can. It's not rocket surgery. So now we take the ancestral tack hammer from Wharton's garage in the upholstery department of the coach building workshop, together with the old man's centre punch. And we merrily accurately, precisely, lightly centre punch every intersection along the measuring line, creating a fairly neat straight line of dimples. So we're going to start with a 3/32 inch hole, and these first two are going to be really difficult. Well, not difficult, but they're solid. They've got plugs in them. There we go. Whereas the others will be pretty easy because they're just 2 thin layers of aluminium. You see the 2 steps going through? And the next 55 are all pretty easy until you come to the solid plug up the other end. And then it becomes time to start again with 532. After we tighten it brutally. And continue on. And now 13/64. And we progress to 1/4 inch. So, not quite perfectly 100% straight, but good enough to suffice. And then just a little bit of a hand cleanup to deburr the rough edges. And anybody would think it was made to be that way, especially after I use just a little bit of methylated spirits and some toilet paper and remove the original guideline. So now we mark all the holes, and then we center punch 3 of them. And we drill 3 of them. That one's obviously through one of the solid plugs. And because we're working in aluminium to aluminium, we can use aluminium rivets. To fix the feet. And this one is free to be adjustable to fit the actual shape of the car when we get back there. And do the same for the other side, like so. And there we have it. Standing on its feet with its air drain, thermo-siphon, aerodynamic trailing edge simulation holes, and none of those holes let the drill contact the underside of the glass or the vital wiring. And when mounted, it should look something like that, with the tension of the rivets pulling the bottom of the feet into line with the roof. And that's the look from the rear quarter. Ciao.